Thank you, Kevin. I just got the sign from Doc Coco saying we're way ahead of schedule. He gave me this. So Bill, just lean back. Good morning. You've been welcomed thoroughly so far, but I want to welcome you to sunny and warm Florida with a touch of South Georgia flavor right here on the state line. And today you notice I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. We're actually having a cool front. The heat index today is only going to be 103. Last week it was vacillated between 110 and 111 all week. So I'm glad you're here in the cool season. My task today is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to Florida on behalf of Jim Carls, who's a Florida State Forester. He's my good friend and colleague and the best friend this state has ever had as far as prescribed fire is concerned. And when I get to giving you some of the facts about it, you'll understand why. He couldn't be here today because he is constantly called on to some of the most important and significant discussions on fire across the region and across the country. So he's in great demand. But he didn't leave me standing here. He armed me with some really impressive facts and thoughts that he wanted you to go into this conference with. But before we do that, we want to make sure that Jennifer, I thank you and your staff, Jenny, and I forget the other one. Jenny, and there was another girl out front registering.
Oh, the few folks out there.
Oh, anyway. For bringing us all together to talk about this important topic. Jim says, and most everything I'm going to tell you are quotes from him, so I got to make sure I get them right, or he'll never forget. He says, as our landscapes change because of things like urbanization, climate change. Anybody here from DEP? That's an inside Florida joke. And invasive species, that the importance of prescribed fire to reduce wildfire threats and keep ecosystems healthy is more and more important every day. The Southeast leads the world in several categories of prescribed fire: acres on the ground, policy development of laws and policies that support the use of prescribed fire, states' authorization process to safely implement prescribed fire programs. And he goes on to say, as budgets tighten and liability issues increase, many states are seeing downward trends in the number of acres burned. However, he wants to call your attention to multi-state cooperative projects that help offset some of these trends. And what I have in my hand right here is a prescribed fire plan, strategic plan 208 to 2020, and a Georgia plan for that same time period. We called it our Vision 2020. This is not the first fire summit ever held in this barn. This is number 4. And one of those sessions, Florida and Georgia came together because they wanted to work more cooperatively and all kind of assistance programs and grant sharing, and built their strategic plans right here in this room. So John Sadler, who you hear from later, the prescribed burn manager in Florida, has brought about 25 copies of the Florida plan. Please don't take one unless you ask John if you can. You can look at it over the next couple of days, but it's just not enough for everybody. I don't know if anybody from Georgia brought any copies of their plan, but just look at it. When we tried to put down in these plans everything that we could think of dealing with barriers and threats and impediments, and we're still looking at those today. So Jim says, because of all this, the real question becomes, how can we capture programs and policies that work and spread them across the country? Now, some impressive Florida Forest Service facts. Recently set an all-time national record for the number of acres burned by a state agency in any state. 246,000 acres of Florida state forest lands have been burned this year. And overall, in Florida, 2.5 million acres, and their 10-year trends average about 2.3 million acres a year. In 2010, when the weather was perfect, and you all know what I'm talking about, burned 2.7 million acres. So we're in Florida leads the nation in those categories. But when we were doing our strategic plan, this is not in Jim's notes, this is in the ad lib, is when you look at the 26 million acres in Florida that need frequent fire, we ain't close, but we're way ahead. So what a tremendous challenge. Now, Jim wanted me to share 3 thoughts on his fire philosophy. And he says in parentheses that from an old burner, Jim's just a fairly old burner. I'm a really old burner. But I agree with his 3 points of philosophy. Number 1, always do it right. Don't get on the edge. We've all been there. Number 2, which is one of my favorites, always keep your good acres good, then work slowly on the bad. If you ignore the good to catch up on the bad, then you lose the good. And the last one, which will create some controversy, he says, it's frequency that's the most important aspect of burning, not season. You get the frequency right, then you can work on season. Too many people get caught in the trap of looking for those perfect burn days for this particular objective or species, and the weather's not right, and say, well, burn it next year. Next year, something else happens, and pretty soon, you've lost that ability to insert the season of fire that you need. And if your frequency is right, and around here, it's 1 to 2 years, 18 months is even better for so many grassland species. Okay, he also wanted to emphasize this. It's going to take continued dedication to keep moving the needle on prescribed fire from leaders who believe in each state, getting the message out to our citizens. And I will add to that, as I always do, never miss an opportunity to tell somebody why you're burning and why it's important. And speaking of messages, the message that Jim uses in every verbal and written communique, PR opportunity, that message was developed right here in this barn, again with 2 states, a series of message mapping workshops, which you'll learn more about in Doc's session tomorrow. It's fascinating. Message mapping is how corporate America sells us products every day. It's why you buy a toothpaste with a stripe in it or not. So the message we came up with is prescribed fire is a safe way to apply a natural process, ensure ecosystem health, and reduce wildfire risk. Now, in front of you on the table is a little card. It's on there, and there's some extra ones over here. Put it in your pocket. Anytime somebody sticks a microphone in front of your face, or a neighbor stops and says, what in the hell are you doing? These are the things, that's what you say. The 3 major points. It's natural, ensures ecosystem health, and it reduces wildfire risk. So, enjoy the cards and keep them with you. And like I tell my students with prescribed fire classes I teach now, this will be on the test. Don't miss a verb tense or a comma or a period Matter of fact, with them, I won't do it with you, but I make them repeat out loud what the prescribed fire message is. And this was the beginning of the One Message, Many Voices project, which you'll hear about from Daryl. It's what instigated that project, is we need one message with many voices, not arguing over is it prescribed burning or controlled burning. We just call it good fire. And the bumper sticker also from the North Florida Prescribed Fire Council. Good fires prevent bad ones. Everybody knows what that means. Well, what's a prescribed fire? What's a good fire? I know what a good fire is because I know what a bad fire is. So it's the opposite of bad. You can find these stickers on most every pickup truck in the Red Hills between Tallahassee and Thomasville, and on most of the, most if not all, of the Florida Forest Service vehicles as well. Okay. Jim wanted to thank you for being here and participating in this important prescribed fire gathering, and wanted to make sure that we say thanks to Bill Palmer and Tall Timbers for hosting yet another fire summit, which they've all come to some good, and I'm sure this one as well. And Tall Timbers, as you probably know, is where the study of fire ecology began, and it continues today under the outstanding leadership of Bill Palmer. So I left you a few minutes, Bill.